Everyone, it's Heidi from Flutterbyheidi.wordpress.com, back again with another Sunday scoring project, and this time it's a tone on, well, not quite tone on tone, but a single colour card of crumb cake and very vanilla, and it's a bendy card. So this is one that either you need to make a box envelope, or you can give it obviously flat and then explain how to make it stand up to people. But it's rather than being a landscape one, it's a portrait version. And this one is using the Birthday Bloom stamp set. I thought it was about time we went back and had a look at some of the annual catalogue stamp sets. So we're using this one here. You see it's got the large floral, some sentiments, single flowers and some accents. And then for those butterflies, we're using Papillon Potpourri. And that's the one that coordinates with the Itty Bitty Butterfly Punch as well. And it's a great standby set for those little butterfly accents. So here's your card. You're going to need a piece of A4 cardstock, or a piece of cardstock that you have trimmed to 6 inches, which is 15.2 centimetres, by 11¼ inches, which is just over 28.5. And we're going to start off by scoring at 3 3/4 and 7½. So lined up at 3 3/4, which is 9½ centimetres, and then again at 7½ inches, which is 19 centimetres. So you've got your 2 score lines. Then turn the card to portrait and line it up at 3 inches, so that's 7.5, and you're now going to cut down to that score line. So it's down to about 9.5 centimetres. It doesn't, as long as you don't go over, you'll be fine. Rotate it through 180 degrees, and you're then going to make another cut at 1½ inches. Again, just down to the first score line. So you'll see a piece of card with 2 cuts, and you're going to cut away this piece in the top corner and this piece. Okay, so just line them up on the score line, so that's at 7½, and just cut down to about 7.5 centimetres, and you can trim that away with your scissors. And then again, line it up at 3 3/4, and again, cut down. So pop your trimmer away, and then you can just take away those 2 pieces. As I said, if you haven't quite cut down, it doesn't matter, just bring your paper snips in here and trim away. Okay, so pop those to one side. Now you're going to make the tabs. Now the way this folds, this is going to fold in like so, and this one is going to fold in like so. So that's how your card is going to fold, and you're going to mark about 1/4 inch away from the side. Now this doesn't have to be precise. All I do is I just literally kind of eyeball that, and I'm using an erasable pen here, so but it also should show up. And I just mark, leaving a tab in the middle there, and then do the same on this one. So just come in like so, and then all you're going to do is just cut and make a little tab like so, and do the same on this on the other side. So just cutting a little tab. I'm angling those very slightly just so that it'll make it easier to pop in. So hopefully you can see those lines, but you can do those in pencil, but if you cut to the outside it doesn't really matter what you use. So now what we need to do is actually, again, you can do this by eyeballing, bring that in to around about 1/2 inch, or just about 1 centimetre, and mark 2 dots. That's where our slot is going to be. And then do the same on this one. You want more of a bend, So there you go, around about 1 inch in, and just mark 2 dots. Again, that's where our slot is going to be. So this is where you need to get to a craft knife. You can use scissors, but it tends to be a little bit better if you can use a craft knife. And obviously, depending on what your surface you're crafting on, if you've got a self-healing mat, this is a good idea to bring that in. So this is just an old one I've got. I'm just bringing in my ruler, and I'm actually going to use this one that I've got. This one here, I like this ruler because you've got the grid lines, it means you can line it up very easily. And all you're going to do is just cut between those 2 dots and then make a second cut, just a few mil. Okay, so that's the first one. Then turn it over, so this is our second one for our smaller tab, and just cut down and cut down, just keeping that pressed up against the edge. Okay, and then you can come in with your craft knife and just cut along those at the top and bottom, and obviously you can then erase your pencil marks, or in my case my erasable pen marks. I am a bit of a stationery freak. I love stationery. So in this instance, I have a love for these pens. They come in all sorts of colours, and they're friction pens, and all you do, look at that, it's a pen and it rubs out. There we go. Okay, so that's our basic card. You'll then find that slots in like so, that one slots in like so, and that then gives, you can hopefully see that from the top, a card that will stand up. So now to the decorating, and this is a case of just making sure that you decorate the right pieces. So the first piece we're going to do is this bit in here. You will need some post-it notes, because you're going to be doing a little bit of masking because of the nature of the stamp, and I've already cut some, which is what I do when I'm doing a lot of anything like these. I stamp on the front of my post-it notes, and then I pull off kind of half a dozen, and then when I cut round it means I've always got post-it notes ready to go, and all I've done is made sure that the top bit there is the sticky bit. So there's my post-it notes already done, and we're going to use some crumb cake ink. So Stamp Up our ink pad is quite a big stamp, so it's easier to come in from the top. This is where I really like having the clear mount film on these, because you can then sort of judge where you're going to stamp it. Now, so I'm going to stamp it here, sort of on the sort of left corner, right towards the top, so the flower is at the top, like so. I'm then going to use one of my masks, and I'm just going to pop that over the top there, like so. So I can then stamp up again, ink up again, and then come in with my second flower just to come off the edge. And I'm just positioning it slightly lower than the other one to give that little angle. Okay, so that's what we've got, and we're then going to cut around the top of both of those with my scissors. So this is me fussy cutting on camera. This could be interesting. I think it's one of the first times I've actually attempted this. I tend not to because it takes time. So I'm following the main shape of the flower and that leaf. Okay, and then I'm just coming up. Now on the sample you'll see that I've actually created some layers. So I'll do that next to show you how I've kind of got that effect. So you could just leave it like this. So there you go. There's our top layer. So it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's just a little bit more effort. So take one of your scraps of card, take your ink pad. You don't have to ink it all the way over because we're only going to use the central section. And all I'm going to do then is just stamp that. And then to get that dimension, I'm just going to come in and cut that outer layer away. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just coming round, and you can sort of really do the layers however you like, and you can do lots of layers, you can do just a few layers. I'm actually going to cut that one away at the bottom. You know, it's that sort of 3D, and this doesn't suit everybody, you know. So there we go. We're going to just do a little bit of watercolouring on that. So aqua painter, you could use your blender pen. Just come in, and I'm just tiny little bit, and I'm just kind of almost emphasising where that natural shading is. You don't want to do too much water because obviously this isn't watercolour paper, so it will absorb. So all I've done is I've just accented that with a tiny bit of crumb cake ink, just taken up like so. Just sort of adding a little bit of shadow in. And then to get that shaping, there are lots of ways of doing this. If you've got proper ball tools for shaping, you can use those. What I do is I take my flower, I turn it over, and I use my scissors, and I literally just apply some gentle pressure, and all you're doing is stretching the fibres of the card. Here you go. And then all you need to do is pop a dimensional in the middle of that. I'm just going to put, say, the one layer on this one here. Just line it up, you can see there, and that gives us some dimension. On to the next two layers then. So we now need our smaller stamp from here. So face down, and we're coming down on this angle here. So again, line up our flower, hopefully you can see that, and I'm just going to pop 3 flowers descending, and on the other side I'm just going to do 2. So I'm actually going to make that slightly more upright and do, in fact I'm angling it slightly over to the other side, like so. And again, you can then paint those, add a bit of colour with a blender pen if you want, but then quite simply I'm going to come, and you see the tab here, so I'm going to just round from my tab. And again, you could add whatever layers you wanted in here, and I'm just sort of following the curve of those flowers to create the line. It's not my most accurate fussy cutting. I would suggest you take a little more time than I have. I'm conscious I don't want you spending all the time on this. I want you to go and make a card as soon as you've finished. And you could use lots of different stamp sets. I have done this one with the You've Got This stamp set as well. So that has a big flower as well. So there we go, there's that one. Then we're going to do the same on here. So I'm just going to come down in a little curve. And on this one, obviously, to make sure we've still got the tab, because I'm going to be putting a butterfly in there, I'm just going to sort of curve it up to the tab like so. We now want our papillon potpourri. Oh, what I didn't do, which is what I did on my other card, is I actually used the little accent from Birthday Blooms to add a bit of shading in there. So just notice that. So I'm going to do that now, just a little bit. It's a bit like putting a background. It sort of grounds the flowers, and you just sort of pop them in between. And you can, obviously I'm using the dots from the stamp set here, but you could use any that you've got. But this is great for adding a little edge as well around the side of cards. So if you wanted to, you could just add a little bit there. And in terms of your sentiment, you could either put your sentiment on the inside panel, or what I like to do is with a card like this actually put it on the very back, because that works quite well, because it means somebody can actually see it all the way through. So butterflies at the ready, using the small one from the butterfly Papillon Potpourri. Apologies, I'm reaching across there, and we're just going to stamp 3 of our butterflies. We're going to grab the punch, which I picked up the wrong one. I picked up the Elegant Butterfly. Here we go. It's this one, Bitty Butterfly. And all you're doing is just punching, not very accurately there actually, apologies. My ink pad away before I ink that up, and then just use a little bit of wet glue, so Tombow, to put those butterflies where you want. So I'm going to put one on the bottom here, and I've just bent the wings up very slightly on these. I'm going to put one of my butterflies over here. What you do need to do is just check where that's going to sit. Yes, I'm okay. That was a bit of a guesstimate, but yes, just check where your flap is going to be. And then I'm going to put a third one. And again, each time you do this card, it will be slightly different. Well, mine always are. And I just put one here as well. And there's your card. It's as simple as, well, hopefully I think you found that as simple. All you now need to do, as I say, is pop your sentiment on the back there. There's your card. You can add as much or as little dimension, as much or as little colour as you want. And I hope you agree, it's a very pretty card in a simple colour. Hope you come back for more. Don't forget, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to contact me, and drop me a line by email or by phone, or you can place your order in my online shop as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Bye bye now.